start with a couple of scientific presentations. The first will be from Wolfram Schlenker, who's an associate professor at SIPA at Columbia, the School for International Public Affairs. He's really led some groundbreaking research on the impact of climate change on crop yields and crop prices. And in particular, some work that he published very recently has been really transformative in understanding how national level agricultural systems, commodity crop systems, respond to climate extremes. So Wolfram?
Thanks so much for having me. I'll follow up with some of the points that have been raised earlier today too, but great. I guess
everyone gets up.
See, good talk. You have some more coffee. I think I have to go next since we're going to talk about food now that you all had something to eat. So as soon as the slides come up. So I have a few slides. I'm going to skip over some. They have some more technical details, but we'll post those slides for people who want to have more technical detail in the end. But I'm going to try to just cover sort of the big pictures. And what I wanted to do is basically five messages I wanted to get across. The first one is basically just about how big the US is in terms of agriculture. So I think a lot of people aren't aware of this. So when we talk about, even if you care about hunger in Africa, one of the main drivers that determines prices in Africa is actually what happens to US agricultural production. So, I didn't see. Technologically challenged. So the history there is what's very sort of interesting about agriculture is that it's been humongous technological progress. Before World War II, yields, which is output per acre you get, has been sort of fairly flat and steady. And then we sort of have this kicking of the Green Revolution where we've seen tremendous growth. So behind telecommunications, agriculture is often actually seen as the second largest innovator in terms of total effect of productivity over time. But what you see as well too, so this is yields Y, you see that there's strong fluctuation across this fairly steady upward trend, this technological innovations. So while we have increased, that we get about 3 times as much out per acre as we used to around 1950, the relative sensitivity to extreme heat has actually been fairly constant. And that's actually sort of the dire scenario for climate change, because as extreme heat sort of temperatures increase, you can see very sizable reductions in yields. There's 4 crops, wheat, rice, soybeans, and maize, or corn, that account for 75% of all the calories that humans consume. So that's both directly, if you eat that stuff, or indirectly, if you buy meat, which is usually where the cow is fed with maize or so forth. So it's a huge sort of caloric base that we rely on. It's just those 4 commodity crops. And instead of showing you trillions of calories, which nobody can interpret, we're just dividing here the calories by, if you were to need 2,000 calories per day for a year, to sort of get this in billion people. So what you see of those 4 crops, the smallest one is soybeans. So this is how many billion people you can feed. This is not a very balanced diet. I wouldn't recommend eating wheat. I just sort of give you sort of a quantity. The next one is rice, and then wheat. Rice and wheat are about equal. One thing you already realize in terms of insurance here is how flat this line over time is. The reason why the global production is so flat is because we have different weather shocks around the globe that tend to average out. So the global production has been very, very smooth. Now the last one, which is the biggest one, is maize. And what you see here with corn or maize is that it suddenly gets much more zigzaggy. And the main reason why this gets more zigzaggy is because 40% of the corn is produced in the corn belt, and it all has very common weather shocks. So if you have a bad year like 2012 in the corn belt, it really drives commodity prices. To give you an idea here, the worst deviation from the trend is plus minus 5%. So global production is fairly steady over time. The worst shock is like minus 5.9% over the last 50 years. So if you now want to look at what the US does, so I just color for each crop what the share of the US is, so it's big in soybeans and corn. What you realize then is that sort of the US share over time has been fairly flat, and it's about a quarter of those calories. So a lot of people think, oh, Saudi Arabia is big for oil or something like that. It's nothing compared to US share for basic calories. So any weather event we have in the Midwest has really the potential to have lasting impacts on the world. So in this first talk, I'm going to talk more about sort of baseline of agriculture, and then Richard, the next speaker, is going to talk much more about what actually their implication of those food price shocks might be on conflict and other things. The second thing I would like to sort of emphasize, which is very much in line with what Adam Sobel said earlier today, is that everything is in the extreme. So this is a study we did where we linked US corn yields for 56 years to weather. We did this on a very fine scale, counting sort of by 2.5 by 2.5 kilometers, about how much each pixel is exposed to certain temperatures. On the x-axis here you see basically temperatures. Sorry, this is in Celsius, so 30 degrees Celsius, 84 degrees Fahrenheit. And this is basically the effect on yields in percent. These are log points. So you see as temperatures get warmer, it's actually sort of roughly increasing yields. If you go from like a baseline of 10 Celsius to 30 degrees Celsius, you get like a 1% boost. This is for a 24-hour exposure of a certain temperature. But then you realize when you sort of hit 30 degrees Celsius and you go further up, you suddenly have this decline, which is about 10 times as steep as the incline. So with climate change, and this is sort of something we should emphasize, there's always good and bad things. The good things is that some of the medium to moderate temperatures you shift to the optimal range, which gives you an increase in yields. But then the moderate temperatures you shift to the extreme heat, gives you a huge reduction. It turns out since this slope is 10 times as steep as this one, on net you see potentially very, very large losses. So that's basically everything to try. So if you want, like, you can run, so if USDA has a forecast in August about what the yields are. If you just look at temperatures above 84 degrees, sum them up over the season, and give a prediction, you basically get a pretty good proxy for what USDA is going to give you. So this is just one variable, but it really captures well what happens to yields. So this is the average accumulation of this extreme heat, which is the amount and the exposure. So basically, being 10 degrees above for 1 day is the same as being 1 degree above it for 10 days. So it's sort of additive in time and how much you're above the threshold. This is the last 56 years. And this is sort of in response to some graders have basically called us, this is crazy. You're using the last 50, 60 years in trying to predict what happens in the near future. Even though, nowadays we have completely different technologies, so this is going to overestimate your losses. That was sort of the criticism. So what we did is we basically looked at this history we used to look at the data, and then we looked at the last 4 years, notably here because 2012 was super hot, especially in July. So you see how this is the cumulative amount of this heat that you get, and it really rises fast. The only one that was higher by the end of the season was 1988. And in 2012, even Colbert Report and other people were like talking about food prices, we had a tripling of food prices, it was all over the news. Now if you look at the climate models, this is like nothing. This is going to be the normal. This is really something that's not like way out of it. By the mid-century, this is something that's really predicted to happen quite frequently. Now the last few years have been moderate again, so we haven't seen as much. So you can then ask, well, how good is this very simple stochastic model in predicting out of sample what's actually happening? And so here these are different aggregations, but what you basically do is you use all this 60-year historic data, and you want to know how well can you predict the last 4. It turns out it still holds very, very closely. So you get in 2012 is really right on. So again, these are log points, so 4 to 4.25, you get like a 25% drop for one of those things. So these are, again, in the US produces 40%. So in terms of the world market, these are really, really big events. The next thing I wanted to emphasize is that those small production changes translate into very large price changes. And the reason, so in a way, it should be very simple. You're like, let's look at change. So elasticity is a change in quantity is affected by a change in price. The problem is this is a very hard regression to run because a lot of things are what we call endogenous, meaning they're like determined within the system. So the smart futures traders here, they already anticipate something happening. So one example here is soybean rust. This was like a case where a pest was about to come. Traders knew this in advance. So what they didn't know, they realized, this is not going very well. There's going to be a small crop. So I'm going to basically trade on that. That basically then changes the futures price. And so if you just regress the futures price and the outcome on the futures price, you get basically already all the expectations in there. So the only thing we did here in an analysis is basically that we look for some way to basically approximate price movements that are given by sort of the things that are not endogenous within the system. And what we there showed is that you can basically use past weather shocks. The idea is, we have great amount of storage. So if the past had a bad weather shock, we deplete the storage, and that's like a shock to what I need to do in the next period to basically replenish this and basically have a sort of a nice movement of the prices. And the takeaway here is that we get a supply elasticity of 0.1 and a demand elasticity of minus 0.05. So together that basically means multiply times 6. If you have a 5% production shortfall, you basically get a 30% price increase. So it's the combination of the two that really matters. So it's basically 1/6 then. So one thing here, the United States has the biofuel mandate, which some people argue whether it has CO2 benefits or not, which basically means we need about 10% of our fuels is due to ethanol. And that basically shifts 5% of calories of those 4 staples into fuel. So if you remember, the worst shock we had in the last 60 years was 5% production shock. So the US biofuel mandate basically takes out every year what the worst shock in 60 years was. And so you can say it's about a 20 to 30% price increase resulting from that. How many time left here? Oh, 2 minutes. Okay, I'll leave it. Then you can ask, well, is this all hypothetical or can we already measure this? So this is another paper. All what we did here is we basically looked at temperatures over the growing regions across the world over the time a particular crop is growing. And this is in historic standard deviations here. So you see whatever is blue is sort of getting colder, whatever is red is getting hotter. And you can ask, is there already a change due to climate change? So what we do here is we look at the 4 crops again, maize, rice, soybean, and wheat. And what we do in gray is we basically look at historic data that are drawn from a random distribution and we fit a trend. Whenever you do something random, you fit a trend, by chance you're going to get some that are positive and some that are negative. So if you look at the past 1960 to 1980, we see that what we get just from randomness and what we observe in the data is the same. However, fast forward to 1980 to the recent past, you see how this all shifts to the right. So you're seeing really in lots of places that this is already getting warmer. So all what we're then doing then is we're basically doing a model where we say, well, what's the production under the normal climate, and what is the production if you include the climate trend, and what are the effects of fuel prices. And so it depends a bit on the CO2 fertilization effect, which isn't that well, which basically means if CO2 rises, you might get a boost in yields. Depending on how you do this, it's either a 19 or a 6% price increase. So we have this strenuous things we put in the food supply, we have biofuel mandates, we have weather shocks, we have like climate trends, and all of that sort of have been pushing food prices up. Finally, and this sort of is in line with, again, what many speakers have said before, if you don't like Obamacare, you should really look at crop insurance. Crop insurance is like Obamacare on steroids. So basically, you can't have any individual mandate for crops, meaning requiring them to have crop insurance. So what they do instead is they decide so this is so heavily that farmers just want to take it. So it's like saying everybody gets health insurance for free, and so take it. So basically, the disaster level is 50% decline. You basically get for free from the government. You can show that as the subsidized crop insurance rolls out, the sensitivity to extreme heat, which is sort of the key driver we're worried about, is getting more severe. As farmers sort of start slacking off, saying like, okay, the crop is gone, I get bailed out, why would I do any effort to sort of insulate against this? So going forward, I think institutionally, we should be sort of really thinking about it. We want to give them the right incentive. And another thing to emphasize is I talked a lot about farmers here. Since they have such a large market share here, farmers actually in the US, even though they have a decline in productivity, they will most likely actually benefit. And the reason for that is that this thing is so inelastic. Remember, a factor of 6? So it's like this common phenomenon. You have a freeze in Florida, and you have the best profitable orange year ever, because there's such a restriction and people want to buy the oranges, so prices explode. So what you really have to worry about is the consumers, the other side. So the tripling in prices between 2005 and 2008 basically meant a $1 trillion surplus globally from those commodities. A lot of that was transferred to the producers. So in that sense, that's something to worry about. So thank you.